Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for this Friday Mailbag episode of PHLY Flyers. Joining me is Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. Happy Friday to you, Hinks.
Happy Friday.
We are here. We are into the final 15 games of the Flyers 2024-25 schedule. Today, like, Ava's planning stuff for her job and, like, our life, you know, April 18th and on. She's like, the Flyers, can they still make the playoffs? I was like, listen.
No, ma'am.
I guess mathematically they have not yet been eliminated.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Micah tweet yet.
But no. So here we are.
Go ahead and plan.
And after post game last night, the Flyers break their 5-game losing streak. They will not go winless on their 7-game homestand. They will play Carolina tomorrow. You know, we've been a lot of micro recently, just looking at what they've been doing on the ice, game to game reactions. No better way, I thought, to spend this Friday, afternoon, evening than with a mailbag show. So that is what we are going to do today. We are answering questions from social media. Obviously, we'll be answering the super chats at the end, as always. But before we get into all of that, I got to tell you, today is the last day. That's right. Go to allphly.com right now and take advantage of our limited time introductory offer. First time diehard, sign up, become a diehard, get all of the benefits, access to the Discord, discount on merchant events, all sorts of really fun stuff. Not to mention, you can read all of our premium content from our all-star roster of writers. It's great. Do it. And I'm trying to win this internal competition here. It's obviously an Eagles-specific thing here. You see the colors. It's free agent frenzy. All that. What if, though, hockey was the show that pushed the most diehard subscriptions? Not to say the other ones aren't doing great stuff. I mean, you look at what the Eagles show is doing right now. They're just pumping out the content, but I don't know. I feel like we have a pretty loyal following here. So go to allphly.com. Sign up to be a diehard if you are not one already. All right, Hinks, let's get into the questions because we have a ton. We're never going to get to them all. But stay tuned. Might have a little mini pod coming for you this weekend of some of the other questions we don't get to today. But let's try to knock out as many as we can. Lead it off with Jake Haight. He says, if the Flyers get the number 1 pick, do you trade down a few spots? Now, this is with the idea.
I have a cartoon head now?
Oh, we finally got the Kelly cartoon head?
Oh my God.
It's finally happened.
Sorry, it was alarming.
Is this our first time using it? This is outstanding. I didn't mean. I feel like you took the picture for this like last March.
I don't remember.
It's been like a calendar year.
I'm a weird looking cartoon. That's okay. All right, continue.
All right.
If we get the number 1 pick.
If the Flyers are to get the number 1 pick, now the general consensus as of right now is defenseman Matthew Schaefer, who we were talking pregame, is even younger than Jet Luchenko was a year ago when the Flyers took him. He was born in September of 2007, which was like his birthday is like my like 3rd day of classes freshman year at Temple, and I'm not really prepared to think about that. But so everyone thinks it's going to be a defenseman going number 1, and then there's the centers that will probably go like 2, 3, 4 behind him. So with the Flyers' number 1 need being center, say you trade down to 3, and then Misa or Hagens goes 2, and then you take who's ever left at 3. You bank some more assets, so maybe you can do some things that'll bolster the team or get more ammunition for a trade, whatever you might need, and you still fill the hole without, really costing yourself anything because it's a defenseman going number 1 in all likelihood. Right. How do you feel about that idea?
So it's interesting because part of me is just like, if you get the first overall pick, just take your guy. Like, don't mess around. But then again, if you're trading down to 2 or 3, you're probably having a conversation with whoever you're trading with and being like, you're not going to take our guy, right? And like, if they say no, then maybe you could pick up a couple of other picks, I guess. I just don't know. It doesn't seem like this happens very often.
No.
You know what I mean?
Like, it does
like mid-round, but never like very tippy top of the draft. I feel like
it's such a like NFL thing. Like it happens so often in
does it?
football
Oh.
because like number one team. Well, if the quarterback isn't there that you want, or there's some like another team that's desperate to get it, like they'll turn over at an absolute haul to the number one team. It just happens so rarely. And here's the thing: you can just take your guy.
That's the thing.
Like that happens. Teams do it. Like, oh yeah, you know, like there's a defenseman and a center. You think they're both equally good. I said this about the Ron Hextall thing with Nolan Patrick. Like, you don't have to do what the consensus says.
You sure don't.
Like, just because everyone thinks Matthew Schaefer is the first pick. Like, if you are like, no, we think James Higgins should go number one and we win the lottery, just say that actually happens. Like, just take him.
Yeah.
Just now you have that hole. Also, if you think Schaefer is the best player in this draft,
probably
take him too. Like, you can take him.
Yeah.
While they need a center and the defense seems a little further along, tell me who the number one defenseman is on this team right now. Tell me who the number two is on. Like, you know, especially they're going to trade Rasmus Ristolainen in all likelihood at some point.
He would be the number two.
Is Travis Sanheim the number one defenseman? Like, he's good, but he's not a number one.
No.
I don't think Cam York is. Jamie Drysdale, we'll see. He doesn't really have like the measurables to be that guy. He's got
his
skills.
Style of play isn't number one defenseman style.
So if you
I always think of a number one defenseman as like Chris Pronger. You know what I mean?
I think you have to be a badass to be a number one.
And more defensive than offensive.
Yeah.
Which is probably not correct anymore. At least in my mind, that's what I think.
At least a good mix.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he scores, but also he will knock you out.
Right.
Like, to me, that is a number one defenseman.
Yeah.
If you think that that's Schaefer, then do it. Like, do it. But
could use.
I wouldn't hate the idea. Say you win the lottery and trade down to 2 or 3 because, okay, it's going to be Schaefer at 1, and then one of your centers is there. But I don't know, man. Just take the guy.
Take your guy. Yeah.
Just take the guy. It doesn't make sense to me to like, oh, we think this guy is it, but what if we can like get fancy with it? Okay.
Do we need another like 2 seconds?
Let's just be right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Can we just be right for once?
Just
like,
pick the guy.
You know, if Howie Roseman were to do this, sure. Because I have all the faith in the world in him like getting it right.
How do we get him to be a hockey guy?
Yeah, like, I have all the faith in the world. Like, oh yeah, he's got like some great plan. Danny, just do the right thing. Like, just do the simplest, most correct thing.
I don't care where you pick him. Pick the right kid. That's all I care about.
All right. And conversely here with the next question from Monty's Flyers Bulletin, could it be possible to trade up to 2 or 3 in the draft? We have the assets to do it. You get me, Sarah Hagens, which are organizational needs. To me, this is kind of the same thing. If you can, sure. But it doesn't happen. Top 10 picks, like we've been over this a million times, they really don't get moved. When they do, it's often like for a great player.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're trading a roster
and like
player
we got Jake too, but it was like, Jeff Carter to Columbus, and we get Sean Couturier at 8.
Right.
What was it? Was it Fedotenko? Yeah, we traded Rusty to Tampa for the number 4 pick to get Yoni Pitkinen, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was, I think, the 9th pick the Devils traded for Corey Schneider. Like, it's usually that, not a bunch of other picks.
No, like, I don't think you'll be able to like package up some of our picks to get 2 or 3.
The teams in those positions want those guys too.
Right.
Like,
and they are also in desperate need of talented players.
Chicago and San Jose are tanking. Like, they are losing on purpose so that they have this option. Now, maybe if it's like, well, they have Celebrini, they have Bedard, maybe they trade down a few spots and they still get a top 10. And, you know, we throw, obviously, there'd be a bunch in there, so they get multiple assets. I suppose it's possible. I'm looking at Buffalo as a possible, like, if they were to get
very poorly run, so you could probably talk them into
and like I'm just looking at them, like, how many of these top of the draft guys do you need? They kind of need stuff for now, so maybe it's like Cam York and 6 to get to 3 or something. Like, I don't know, but maybe they're a possibility.
Here's the thing: like, I don't think it can be one of these players that we have questions on. Because like if we're like, is Cam York the guy? I don't know if everyone around the league is looking at Cam York and also not thinking, is he a guy? But then again, Buffalo is stupid, so maybe.
Just like an idea.
I bet they could use Erasmus for Solana.
Maybe Buffalo is a target in this position if they're to be in that 2 to 3 range. But you look at like Nashville and Pittsburgh, they desperately need to get younger.
Right.
Seattle needs just talent, however they can get it. I just don't know. Like the Devils last year, and they didn't end up trading 9, but it made sense. Like, all right, they don't need futures. They need stuff for now. So if you can maybe get that 9th pick, like, okay, that makes sense. But there's not that team to me this year outside of maybe Nashville, but I think they've had a realization about where they are. And it's like, we too, while we have all these major investments and veterans that may have been ill-advised, we need to get younger. And obviously Pittsburgh just needs young talent because they have none. Like they have so little. It's insane.
These kinds of things are always like fun to think about, but they just don't really happen.
They don't. And it's cool. Like, and people love putting that stuff out and you get a ton of clicks. Like trade deadline time, you put trade in like your SEO, you put it in your headline and people go nuts for it. And draft trades, people love it. You know, we're going to do Tankathon in a second. Did I tell you the story about like the guy who like made Tankathon? He was on in one of the Philly outlets recently. Like, you know, it kind of started around the time of the Sixers process.
Okay.
And like Philadelphia fans flocked there and suddenly it blew up. And now Tankathon is like part of the sports landscape. And he's like, and now with the Sixers where they are, it's like, they're coming home. like all of our traffic is from Philadelphia again, the way it was 10 years ago. And I'm like, and we're directing people there for the hockey team too. So
every day.
Yeah, you're welcome, Tankathon. But like this stuff just makes people nuts. Like they get crazy about it, but it just rarely happens in hockey that you see these trades. So we'll see. It would be really cool, and it would be a bold move for Danny, and they need to do those. But you have to have a willing partner.
Yeah.
And with that, Brenna, it's time for today's Tankathon spin. That's right. Now, I tried this earlier, tweeted it out, got number 1 on my one spin today.
No way.
Yeah, it was it was something funny. Like Philly 1, Detroit 2, San Jose, Chicago, Buffalo.
What
it was very funny.
That would be great.
All right. So with that, you see the Flyers still sitting in that 7 spot, even with Pittsburgh winning a couple of times this week. Flyers won last night, so they maintain that 7 position. Brenna, spin that wheel. All right, we see it, and down to 8.
Come on.
We keep getting pushed down to 8 every time we do this. I feel like we're at 7 or down to 8.
I don't like that.
I do this in the comfort of my own home, and I get number 1 like every other time.
When I was messing with you and wanted to find Pittsburgh winning, I had to spin it like 14 times before I got Pittsburgh winning.
am still upset. I messed up that joke.
It's not nice.
It's just very upset about it. All right, let's get to this next one here from Jay Hockey Fan, because speaking of our preseason predictions, Kelly, yours is looking good, but Jay Hockey Fan asks our Cup final predictions, and I went back and found our preseason stuff on our Twitter, and you had Stars Hurricanes, which is funny because they just pulled off a major trade between each other, but both teams very good. Looks like that could end up happening. Now, you know, we'll see. Hurricanes, not the best postseason track record, but maybe it's their year. I had Oilers. All right, possible. And the New York Rangers, who probably are going to miss the playoffs. Listen, can't be right all the time.
No.
You know?
Who could have predicted
these were our preseason. Yeah, I had the Rangers winning the Cup, and they are going to probably miss the playoffs.
I love that for you.
That's just the way it goes sometimes. I had them winning the division. It's the Predators was my worst. I mean, like they're like
that was a funny pick.
They're in like 3 right now. I think they're like 3rd from the bottom in lottery odds.
The thought process was there. It was a bold choice.
4th,
but it had something behind it.
They are 7 percentage points ahead of Buffalo for the 3rd spot. They're right now 4th from the bottom. It is what it is. Yeah. So are you sticking with your pick from our preseason predictions?
Yeah, I felt better about the Hurricanes after they had Mikko Rantanen.
Sure.
But I'm going to stick with them. I feel like the Hurricanes, to me, are like Remember how Tampa had to like lose a whole bunch of time in the playoffs before they finally won?
Yeah, like
I feel
eventually,
like Carolina's doing that thing. Like eventually they're going to figure out what they need to do to win in the playoffs after losing so many times, and they'll get there. So I'll stick with it.
you know, I really thought they had figured it out and was like, have a guy who can score a goal, and they got him. And then he was like, I'm not signing here, so they traded him. Well,
To be fair, they got a pretty good return.
they did. They got a really decent return. It's just like, I don't know how much Stank Oven helps them win the cup this year.
Yeah.
And obviously the picks. Like, it's a great return. It's just
But Rantanen was going to help them.
perhaps not what a team needed. So my Oilers Rangers pick, I think I'm going to change entirely.
Okay.
I am going to say it is the Dallas Stars.
Okay.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they get back.
Really?
Just because right now, I think they have the Maple Leafs in round 1. And that would, I'm going to take the team that wins in the playoffs all the time against a team that doesn't.
Well,
it's kind of one of them things.
I was really hoping that they would get Florida in the first round just so they had to face
It would be
Brad
funny if they had
Marchand.
Marchand.
They just couldn't get away from him.
But there's still so much to be decided in the Atlantic. It's kind of all over the place right now. But I am going to take Tampa and Dallas. I just like Dallas's team. I think they're going to get healthy for the postseason. And I don't know. I know Tampa's in a little downturn right now, but they have like a month to get it going before the playoffs.
And they do have that they have that know how to win thing. And also it kind of almost seems like sometimes they take the foot off the gas at the end of the season because they're like, nah, we'd rather
like
save it for the
Kucherov
playoffs.
missed last night's game, but you look at Vasilevsky, like his numbers are insane this year. He's the second best goalie in hockey. Hedman is probably going to be a finalist, if not like 4th or 5th on the Norris ballot. Kucherov's at 92 points already. They're going to have 430 goal scorers. They've got like a plus 51 goal differential. I honestly have no idea how their record isn't better.
Yeah,
that they're like 3rd in the Atlantic right now. But so be it. I am going to go with Tampa. I just got a little hunch. I got one of them hockey hunches that they're constantly talking about in the commercials.
That's how I pick everything because I have no idea about stats or anything else. So I'm just like vibes based.
It's all guessing. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Right. I don't know.
Nobody
all right.
knows.
And speaking of those commercials, let's take our first break. Let's lead off today with Ace Hardware Home Services. That's right, because if you have a leaky pipe or air conditioning issues or a faucet that you said you'd fix last fall and you've opened up YouTube a few times to figure it out, but just can't quite get to it, well, you need to turn to our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services, because at Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the corner with everything you need for your next project, including the person to actually pull it off with you, because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home service and repair folks. From plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, they're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love from the store, now to your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. While we're here, I got to tell you about Rothman Orthopedics. You know, Ace can help fix up your home. Rothman helps fix up you. Because if you have aching joints or cramping hands, your back's out of whack, Rothman's got you. At Rothman Orthopedics, they've been practicing specialized care, and it's been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission, it's high-quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research. Research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is laser-focused on their specialty, hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for you. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard so you can get back to your specialty because they're Rothman Orthopedics and they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make your appointment today. All right, now we have a pretty funny one from Dan Knightley.
Friend of the pod.
Dan Knightley asks, can you still put your socks on standing up? And I had to think about it. And when I was getting dressed today, I'm proud to say that I can.
Love that for you.
I did not even think that this was I usually can't sit down in my office because I just have the chairs covered in yesterday's clothes and stuff. So I hadn't even really thought about it. And I was impressed with myself if this is a thing that older millennials can't pull off.
So I too tested myself to make sure I was accurately answering this question. Have you ever seen the challenge where you put your shoes and your socks on the floor and then you lift up one foot and you have to bend down and get the sock, put the sock on, bend down and get the shoe without putting your foot down. So you're like balancing on one foot, you bend down, get the sock, put the sock on, bend down, get the shoe, put the shoe on. Anyway, I did that whole thing and I could do it.
That just sounds, I don't know if I have the balance for that, quite honestly.
It's really a balance test. It's supposed to be like a test for like old people so you don't fall down. And I'm proud to say that I don't think I'll be falling down at least anytime soon because I could still do it.
I just like fall down walking all the time.
I'm very clumsy, but I have good balance. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know how I played hockey for years. Like my balance is not great.
I saw you skating. You're quite good at it.
I'm good. I'm better at that than I am walking, quite honestly. Like it's walking dangerous activity for me. But I was pretty pleased with myself. So
now everyone watching the show will try to put their socks on while standing up and see if they can do it. And I really like that.
That's interesting. Now,
one question.
See, my socks are all rolled. Like, do you have to unroll them first to do this? Because I'm not doing that.
What do you mean?
Like
the one that I did?
They're in the
Well, they're like on the floor, so you have to bend down and get it.
Okay.
First, on the one foot.
On the one foot.
I'll try to find a video and send it to you.
I think I could probably pull this off.
You probably could. I think you could.
We're gonna figure this out. Yes. All right. The next question is actually our Shady Rays Future is Bright segment. That's right. The future is so bright here in Philly that you need a great pair of Shady Rays to protect your eyes. PHLY viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, so use code PHLY today at shadyrays.com. And our question comes from Colin Moye. He says, is anyone else nervous that the Flyers will move forward with torts-like players instead of legit skill? And I think this speaks to something we touched on the other day. When was the last time we were all together? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I think there is a real misconception about John Tortorella.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes, he believes that you should play physical kind of old school hockey in some regards. You should be tough to play hockey. But I went back and looked at some of the years he had his most success. Like Brad Richards, who won the Conn Smythe and led the playoffs in points in 2004, and Marty St. Louis were two of his three top time on ice guys in the 2004 playoffs. Gabrick and Delzato both played like 20-plus minutes in the 2012 playoffs. Looking back at his time in Columbus, Werenski and Panarin, were they like low-skill grinders?
No.
No, they're awesome guys. Look at how he asked Werenski and Jones to play in Columbus, and look what Zach has become since. They're talking about not just Norris votes, but Hart Trophy votes for him this year because he's not a defenseman. He's not a forward. He is a rover. He is just all over the place, making plays both with skill and physicality. John Tortorella, yes, he wants guys to be tough and block shots and do all that stuff, but he wants his skill players to be versatile and creative and assertive offensively.
Yeah.
I just think there's a little bit of a misconception about what John Tortorella is asking the players to do. Right now, he is creating a baseline of competence for this team in terms of defense and their on-ice tendencies.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what he thinks is going to win for this team when it's time to turn.
I mean, I hope that's not what he thinks is going to win. I think it's just it's hard as a fan to see him benching Matvei Michkov for extended lengths in a game for making a mistake. Because we don't care that he's making mistakes. We want him to make all the mistakes, learn from the mistakes, but also go out there and do the things that he's very good at. So I understand why people have this, but if you think of all the players that have been essentially axed by John Tortorella since he's come to Philadelphia, none of them are particularly good. You know what I mean? He hasn't sent away a skill guy that he just didn't like. Kevin Hayes,
he's that's a bad contract. There's a reason they're covering half of it, and he's been traded twice now.
Yeah, I mean Farabee and Frost, they're mid at best. I feel
they just didn't live up to expectations.
Yeah, he hasn't really at any point in my mind anyway, like fully been out on a guy that's obviously highly talented. Like even Travis Konechny, he's like, yeah, he can make some mistakes because I know he's going to go out there and score goals.
He can't score right now. He's still playing 20 minutes a night for this team.
Speaking of, how cursed is that man?
And that is our Future is Bright segment.
Sorry.
That's
posts.
I now believe that a witch put a hex on Travis Konechny.
Yes.
Like it's no longer, I think he's hurt. I do think he's dealing with something. Maybe he's in his head, but like
you beat the goalie.
Just straight beats him and gets
all 3 posts.
Left post, right post, crossbar. Out in a shootout. I've never seen such a thing. For that not to end up in the net, there is some force field preventing it from crossing the line. Like, how doesn't it bounce and hit Johansson in the back and then bounce in?
Yeah.
Like,
a million other things could have happened.
Absolutely shocked. And while all this is happening, Torts is still giving him 20 minutes. Like,
yes.
I just think there is a little bit of a misconception. Like when we talk about some of the mistakes Mishkov has made that have led to him getting benched, one, he's a young player and he's trying to just instill good habits in him. We heard him last year. It's when they switched to the rush-based offense. The reason they did that is because we're getting the Mad Russian soon. It was kind of our first hint that he was coming sooner than later. Kind of let the cat out of the bag a little. But he was like, yeah, Mishkov's coming, and we want to be able to take advantage of what he does. When there is a turnover or there could be a play broken up and he's on the not puck side, if he's on the weak side, he wants him going. Like the times he's been benched this year, it's like his man was the one that had the puck and there hadn't been the play broken up yet and he kind of just took off. Or, as was the case last time he was benched, he did not back check. Like, he is not yet back in the screen when the puck crosses the line after being deep in the offensive zone. Like, you have to back check. It's a part of hockey. Everyone has to do it.
Back check.
And these are just the little things. And I do think John Tortorella acknowledged his mistake from the previous time benching him. When he was like, yeah, I probably should have just benched him for the rest of the period and put him back out there. Yeah. And then this time, he did exactly that.
He did. That's true.
So I just think there is... Listen, I can be just as annoyed with Torts. I think this would probably be a good time for him to have his last season behind the bench with us. I don't know how much longer you can put the guys through this, especially when it's not in service of winning.
Right. It seems to be wearing on some of them.
Yeah, you have all this losing and you have the crazy guy yelling at you all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like a lot. That seems like just a lot to put on the dudes.
Like it.
But I do think he is a little bit less of a dinosaur than he gets credit for.
I think so. I think most of my annoyances with him come on like a micro level. I think
yes, definitely.
Like macro wise, he's done a pretty good job with the team.
All right, this next one, this is a question directly for you, I think, Kelly. It is from Kyle. How worried should I be about Ian LePerriere becoming the next Flyers head coach?
I have to believe that Danny Briere is not that stupid. Like, I have to believe it. I don't know how you could look at the Phantoms and think, yes, this is going so well that I want to promote this man who was an absolutely horrible NHL assistant coach. I would like to make him a head coach in the NHL. I don't think that the loyalty that the organization has toward Ian LePerriere extends that far. I really don't think there's a chance in hell that he is the head coach of the Flyers.
It would shock me.
If they do that, I'm quitting. Like, you'll never see me again.
I do think, and I don't know if it's right or not, I tend to think maybe not. They seem to believe he is very skilled in terms of developing players.
They do seem to think that based on what I don't know.
Maybe not so much on the ice. To me, I think it's more about like that learn to be a pro thing. Like,
probably.
He treats the AHL players like NHL players and kind of maybe gives them that structure that they're going to have to, abide by for the rest of their whatever. Yeah. They think he's good for player development.
Right.
I cannot imagine, based on his success as, the defense and power play coach, which was none.
Yeah, real bad.
Like, I'll always just go back to that time all those Ottawa Senators were in that cab or that Uber or whatever it was, and they're all just crushing their coach and their penalty kill strategy and how bad it was. And they're like, we have to be the worst, right? And they like bring up NHL.com and they're like, oh, the Flyers are where they are in public bashing their own coaching staff. And it's like, oh, Ian LaPerriere's unit is even worse somehow.
Yep.
Like between that and the mostly results he's had at the AHL level, and go, yes, he should be an NHL head coach. Now, there is the like Frank Saravalli of it all, where he's like, Ian LaPerriere is going to be an NHL head coach one day.
That's because Ian LaPerrieure called him and was like, hey, dude, can you say some nice stuff about me in the press? People are talking about me.
There is a theory that
he was doing a little PR.
You know, and this is the back and forth of being like an insider and a source. Like, you get your tires pumped a little bit in exchange for some things.
Right.
And the possibility of Ian LaPerriere being at least a background source for Frank Saravalli exists.
I'm sure that he is.
Because when you see that and go, well, the guy's had no success. What is the reason for this? Perhaps that is it. Or maybe they're just friends.
Could be that.
Like they could, you know, Frank worked here for a while. Ian LaPerriere has been here for a long time. Maybe they just have another relation. But like, there is no reason to believe, based on anything that has actually happened, that Ian LaPerriere is a good coach. Maybe he just has it in him, and you give him a real NHL team, and he could win with it. I don't know, but I doubt it.
I would love someone to do that, actually. Any other NHL team can hire him straight away from this organization anytime they want to.
You know what?
But
we could be his second job. If he goes to Dallas or wherever the hell, go to Vegas. I don't care. Say he coaches the Kings. I don't know. Calgary. Yeah. And he's good, sure, bring him in after that.
Sure.
But I have no reason to believe that he can be a head coach.
He can prove it someplace else.
And as much as, yes, he and Danny Briere were teammates, he's been a part of the organization a while. They're all part of the family. Mm-hmm. I just have to believe Danny Briere is looking for somebody with more of a track record of success. And that is, like, I've said this all along in terms of what I think the Flyers are going to look for in their next head coach. Briere and Jonesy seem intent on returning the Flyers to what they always were.
Sure.
And outside of like franchise legend Bill Barber, who won a Calder Cup and did win a Jack Adams. Like
before Mark Recchi stabbed him in the back.
Outside of him, like Hall of Famer, 420 career goals, 2 Stanley Cups as a player, Calder Cup as a coach. It was pretty much always established big name guy.
Yes.
That's what they've done for a long, long time. I bet you that's the direction they go.
Especially as you're transitioning into win now mode.
Yeah.
You don't want the development guy when you're transitioning into trying to win hockey.
We talked about this a little yesterday. But since we're talking about it, David Carl.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a possibility? Because a lot of people are like, well, because of Dave Haxtell. It's like, this guy has so much of a better resume than Dave Haxtell. That can't be the reason.
Dave Haxtell never won a championship at a school that wins championships constantly.
They won the next year.
As soon as they won the
first year without him.
Yes, North Dakota won championships constantly. He never won one. And David Carl seems to do nothing but win.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a possibility because the vibe that I get is like David Carl doesn't want to leave his extremely cushy situation.
You have to change his life, basically, is what he has said.
They could.
Now, I do think if the Flyers wanted to do this, which I don't know if there's an appetite for it.
Right.
But they are one of the teams with basically unlimited budget. If they want to give him $20 million a year, they could do it, and Comcast wouldn't even notice. That's a rounding error to that.
Exactly.
He wants to be not just a disposable head coach. Like, one of his last interactions on Twitter was like, liking or retweeting somebody who showed Jim Montgomery's record when he got fired. It was like he had like a 700 points percentage. And he's like, I don't want to go somewhere and then be out in 2.5 years when I could literally do this job at Denver for the rest of my life. He's 35 years old. He could be there till he's 90 if he wanted to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, he has like young kids and stuff. He doesn't want to uproot his entire family to move someplace and then get fired.
Now, based on what the Flyers are doing, one, brother of Matt Carl, so he's kind of part of the family.
One of us.
And two, based on what they're doing with Torts, it's like the head coach isn't just the head coach right now. Mm-hmm. He's got, obviously, some authority elsewhere in the organization. We think Torts is going to move up one day. David Carl kind of wants to be part of a brain trust. Yeah. If the Flyers wanted to make that sort of commitment to him, they're capable of all these things.
Yeah.
I would just be very surprised if they don't go with someone like a Mike Sullivan.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've always done.
Yeah. I think that.
But scared of Dave Haxtell, that can't be the reason.
No, I don't think so. It's just like apples and oranges, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As far as the two of them as college coaches. So
I did see one of, I keep wanting to call him Matt, one of Dave Carl's advisors, Kurt Overhart.
Are we still pretending that's a thing?
I don't know. It kind of seems like it might be.
I don't think it is.
I
don't think it is.
They do have to make nice at some point. It might be a thing.
Here's the thing. Kurt Overhart wants to make money. If the Flyers are going to offer one of his clients the most money to sign, you think he's going to be like, nah, dude, don't do it? No, that's not his job. His job is to get them the most money because then he makes the most money. Like, I do feel like he might hate the Flyers, but like also, you know, he has a job to do. And I'd like to think that like, you know, maybe if like the Rangers and the Flyers offer somebody exactly the same amount of money, he may be like, I would go to the Rangers because the Flyers are meh. But I don't know. I just don't buy that adults act this way. Although,
well,
as soon as that left my mouth, I was like, wait a minute. No, they definitely do. So I don't know.
Yeah, who the hell knows? I think it would be really cool. Like, I like Denver's program. I think it would be great to have the next upcoming coach. And like, again, a 35-year-old.
Forward thinking.
He's like a guy who is more in tune with young guys because he is younger. He's been coaching college players now. He came up through that system. Also friends with Jim Montgomery, who's kind of part of the family. Like, I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
I would just be very surprised if that's the direction they go.
So would I. Yes.
All right. That wasn't even a question. It was something I wanted to get to. All right. Josh Rose with the next question. Should the Flyers have made more of an effort to get Cousins at the trade deadline? It would be cool.
Yeah.
The one drawback is like what he's done recently. He signed at $7.1 million through 2030 and has 82 points in his last 144 games. Now, the other side of that is it's Buffalo, and look what everyone does after they leave Buffalo, whether they're star-level players, like all of the guys who now have won cups, like Linus Ullmark, who's one of the better goalies in the league, even Rasmus Ristolainen, who was kind of a joke when we acquired him. Really pretty good now.
Yeah.
You know, like it could just be that environment, but based on what they gave up, was it Bernard Docker and Josh Norris? Did you want to give up on top of the $7.1 million through 2030 and hoping that he becomes the 1C?
That's the thing. It's a big gamble.
Now that's a hell of a bargain if he does.
Yes.
You know, and I think he's got 4 points in 4 games for Ottawa, so maybe it's like change of scenery, immediately better. Could be. But based on what they gave up, I'm thinking either Drysdale or Andre or Bonk, plus Tippett or Cates or Forster.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't, but it is a gamble.
Part of me wonders if the reason that they didn't seem to like go super hard for a center this trade deadline is that like maybe they have their eye on a UFA that's going to be a free agent in a couple of years. You know what I mean? Like maybe they have a long term, like we don't want to spend 7.1 on Dylan Cousins because we've got like, I don't know who in 2026 is going to be a free agent. We're going to throw a pot of money at him. Like maybe that's what they're doing.
Maybe they were going to offer sheet Connor Bedard. Who knows? We do have a question about that later.
Cool.
We might get to it in the mini pod. It's not today.
Just because like the need for a center is so desperate right now. And they were just like, they didn't even really address it, really.
I think they got
a long-term plan.
They definitely want to see what happens at the draft, probably.
Yeah.
And really waiting to see how the finances work out. And maybe, I mean, it's been over a week since we were supposed to have heard about the Ryan Johansson thing, or his hearing was scheduled for like last Monday, I thought, and nothing yet. So we'll see. But they do have cap room. Like if he gets tacked back on, they should be all right, even with the overage bonuses and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I didn't hear if they were in on Dylan Cousins at all. and
We didn't hear anything,
you
so
would think they would want to check in at the very least.
I mean, maybe.
But I wonder if some of these guys now, they're like we said with Marco Rossi yesterday, I think was a super chat question. Like, I think that time has passed.
Yeah.
Like, and now it's on to a younger generation of guy. But Cousins is actually younger than I thought he was. He's only like 24, I think. But with the age of Luchenko, the age of Mishkov, maybe they want someone who fits that timeline a little bit better. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't dismiss it, though. If they had gotten Dylan Cousins, I wouldn't be upset, even if it cost you, Bonk and Forster. Like, that wouldn't be a deal breaker for me.
No. Actually, probably would have been a really good trade. But.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to one more before we do the next commercial. Let's talk to Wasabi. Should getting a goalie with a proven track record be a major offseason objective?
Yes.
Now, Aiden Hill, he was on the list of potential UFAs that we talked about the other day. He signed for pretty big money today for a goaltender. 6 years, $6.25 million average annual value.
God, I got to tell you, I think signing goalies to contracts like that is crazy.
It is, but also if you have a guy,
I know we want to cut, but like,
if you have a guy with like a 909 a couple years in a row or so, like, you have to do it because it's impossible to find anyone who's the least bit consistent right now.
That's true.
I think that's
just
kind
like
of
so. There's goalies are so up and down, and so like out of nowhere they become terrible for no reason.
It just happens.
I mean, like, it happened to Bob. Like, he won a Vezina and then had terrible seasons after that. Like, committing to a goaltender for that long freaks me out. So I'm glad the Flyers haven't done it yet.
So yeah, it'll be, and I think it'll be a while before they make that sort of commitment. I didn't think Aiden Hill was ever a realistic, like, I don't think that's the kind of guy they're going to go after.
Yeah.
To me, right now, there's a couple of options, just a few on the UFA market. And yeah, they could trade a like fourth or later, or maybe like a Jennings level guy for a goalie, and I'm fine with that. But I'm not interested in surrendering major assets for what is a stopgap to give us base level competence. That's all I'm looking for.
Right.
Like a 900 save percentage. Jake Allen or Alex Lyon. Those are the two guys I'm looking at. Like we've said for 2 years now, we need an Alex Lyon type guy.
Should have kept.
It very well might be Alex Lyon. Someone a little younger, 25, not a ton of experience, but it's gone okay for him. He's in Utah right now. I think he's going to be a free agent just based on like, they haven't like played him enough, and it's like, all right, you get to be a free agent because this is a waste of your time. Jackson Stauber in Utah. He's 25, pretty good numbers, and like I think he's only got 10 games or something, like over 2 years.
Well, that's not much of a sample size.
No,
William.
It's very little.
But also, I really object to the way he spells his first name.
Jaxson.
His parents should be jailed. Terrible way to spell
I guarantee we have a Jackson with that spelling listening to us right now.
I'm sorry about what happened to you.
I'm sorry about what happened to you. But I just maybe take a shot on a guy and see if he can maybe be,
maybe
for now and part of the future, if you can get him cheap. I don't know.
But then if you end up with like another guy that sucks.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sign him to a long-term deal.
No. But I mean, I do think, like you've said it 1,000 times, it's hard to properly evaluate the rest of the talent with every other shot going into the net. So, like, it would be nice to know that we have just, like, a competent goaltender. Reliably competent. And Alex Lyon is reliably competent.
It's really Jake Allen and Alex Lyon. I just saw his name, and it kind of intrigued me. Mostly based on the spelling of his first name. But we'll see. All right, before our next question, let's take a minute to tell you about a couple of our sponsors, starting with our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. They have been my sportsbook of choice for a couple of years now, and here's just a few of the reasons. They have over 90 million users worldwide. They live stream almost 800,000 live events each year. They have the early payout offers across the NBA and NHL, and they pioneered live in-game betting. They offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 different sports and leagues. And right now, we have breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now I have to tell you about one of our newest partners here. It is Monarch Money. That's right. I think we've had enough finance-related sponsors over the last few years for most of our audience to know I am not the most fiscally responsible. I am not the most responsible spender. I love going out to restaurants, going to games and concerts and events. And when you do things like that and you're having fun, you can have maybe a tendency to let your budget get away from you. And that's why Monarch Money has become such an important part of my financial planning and daily life. Finances, they can be messy and confusing, to say the least. Well, Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop simply earning and start growing your wealth. Monarch is more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals, so you can start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. You can track all your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly with all your accounts and credit cards and everything you need to take control of your budget in one place. And those are just a few of the reasons Monarch Money was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. So get control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY. All right. What is our next question here? Oh, from Devon. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I've gotten it wrong so many times, I don't remember. I've said like Devon and Devon. And yeah, but I'm
normally I read that as Devon.
It's Devon. I'm pretty sure is what he told me when I got it wrong like 3 times. All right. This is another fun one for you, I think, because you had a response to this when we were just looking at it pre-show.
Yeah.
Would you sign John Tavares to a 4-year contract? He's still a point-per-game player. Could be the team's 1C until Jet or someone else develops. Kelly, what do you think?
No. No. He's too old, fam. Like, 4 years is a long time.
He will play next year at 35, I believe.
Yeah. 4 is a long time. Like, that's the kind of situation where, like, if it was like a Joe Thornton situation where you could sign him for 1 year because he's just, like, having fun at this point and hanging around the league. If you could sign him for 1 year, $4 million, sure. Why not? But 4 is a long time.
My thing is, I'm skeptical that the Leafs and Tavares don't already have a deal in a drawer worked out for like 5 years, $5 million a year or something.
Probably.
Like when they took the C off of him and put it on Matthews, I feel as if that may have been part of the negotiation process there. I don't know. I can't imagine the guy goes home, especially if they don't win the cup this year. Like he's gonna, okay, I did my time there, and now I'm gonna go sign in Utah.
No,
like,
he wants to. If he is gonna win, he probably wants to win in Toronto.
I just can't imagine that that's the way it's gonna go. And like Devon said, like he's still pretty good.
Sure.
Yeah, he could be a mentor. He knows how to deal with big markets. That's something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate it if he's coming here for like, I don't know, $5 million, but for how long? Again, like 4 years?
That's too long.
That just seems too long for a guy who, yes, still very good right now on a really good team with a good power play.
Yeah. James Bond Flyers has a good point. Rather have Drew. Same.
Okay.
He's also a free agent.
He is. And I think that's the same situation. Like, do you go home to leave? I find that odd.
I think if you go home, you either go home, win a cup there, and then once your contract is up, just decide if you want to hang out or do a Joe Thornton and just play 1 year every team around the league. Or you go home, you play there a few years, it's clear you're not going to win there, and then you're like, hey, trade me to a contender, I want to try to chase a cup. Like, those are the only scenarios, I think.
Yeah, I'm just skeptical that he's ever going to leave the Leafs. And while he would help you, like he would absolutely make the Flyers better for like the next 2 years, do you want to make a 4-year commitment to a guy when you're just finally getting the cap cleaned up And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Tavares is on LTIR for the last 2 years or
Right,
something.
and that's
like,
the thing. Like, we're
I'm good
trying
on
to have,
that.
you want to have as much cap as possible for when they want to start getting some guys. And I don't want a bunch of money tied up in a 38-year-old John Tavares.
If they were a borderline playoff team and it was like this offseason they're going to make a push and get other guys too.
Yes.
And he's going to be a depth option for you.
Yes.
Or maybe like a guy you trade for at the deadline or so. Absolutely. But in terms of like this is your big ad this offseason, I just don't think it makes a ton of sense for what they're trying to accomplish.
No, I don't think so either.
But it would be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's go to Efrantheeman. This was an interesting one. With Eric Johnson going back to the Avs, do you think Danny brings in another or different veteran defenseman in the offseason to fill out the Johnson stall role we've had for the last couple of years? Or has this D-core matured enough now that it's no longer necessary? I wouldn't hate it just because you don't want the 7 to be someone you're developing.
Yes, correct.
Now it could easily be like they go out and just like get someone better, or maybe Oliver Bonk really impresses in camp and Zamula becomes your 7, and it's like, well, we can live with that.
Yes.
But like even if they are to move on from Rasmus Ristolainen, which I kind of think they're going to this offseason, they'll probably add some cheap size somewhere, but they have Sanheim, York, Drysdale, Sealer, Andre Zamula in the NHL under contract. That's 6.
Yeah.
With Hunter McDonald, Helge Grans, Ethan Sampson, all in the AHL, and Oliver Bonk is going to be in the AHL next year. Like, I just don't know where it fits, but I did take a look at some guys. Alec Martinez. But after a year in Chicago, like if he wants to keep playing, I can't imagine it's for another rebuilding team. Like if he's gonna go be the 7,
miserable as them.
like if he's gonna be the 7, I'd like, can I just hang out with like Vegas or the Avs or something?
That's true.
Like what if I'm the 7?
If I'm gonna be in the 7.
What if
I'm
the 7 in Tampa?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
how much fun would that be?
I'd rather go to the beach.
So I don't think so. Like Cody Ceci, I think he can still command a market. I know, Kaka PB.
Sorry.
Jeff Petrie, David Savard. I think there's 2 real possibilities. Like Ryan Suter, he's 40, but he's still playing 20 minutes a game for the Blues.
Well,
like I don't think that's a possibility.
No.
I think Jack Johnson and Travis Hamonic are 2 guys who I'm not saying we're bringing in a guy who's going to help us win. Well, Jack Johnson needs to keep playing because I think he needs the money still because he got ripped off by his parents.
Terrible
and
story.
The league's going to keep him around forever. Like, and good. Like, he's still okay.
It does need to be a guy that nobody else wants.
It's going to be a guy who you don't have a problem playing 25 games a year who thinks like I could be more than this. I think Travis Hamonic and Jack Johnson, if they're going to bring in a guy like that, are your options.
Yeah, that said, I do think I guess it all depends on if you're actually going to trade Risto. But working under the assumption that Risto is still here, I feel like he and Sanheim are like kind of like grizzled veterans enough that like they can be the leaders on defense and you don't need a defense dad up in the press box. Yeah,
like he's going to be, Risto's going to be 31 next year, and Travis Sanheim has to be getting close to 30, right?
Got to.
He will be 29 on March 29th.
I mean, I guess if you can if there's just a guy hanging around that'll sign for league min, like whatever, that's cool. But I don't think it needs to be a priority. And I doubt it ever would be. It's probably just going to be some dude that Jonesy is friends with. And he's like, yeah, I want to play another year. And Jonesy's like, you want to be our 7? And he's like, all right, sure. That's probably how it would happen.
Yeah. Jack Johnson, I'm telling you, that's the answer if they do.
Honestly, I don't. So the problem with Jack
They're better
Johnson
together.
Is I have he was considered good for so long and he was never actually good. And it drove me insane. But I do feel bad for him that his money got stolen by his parents. So if we gave him money, I wouldn't be mad about it.
No, to hang around and play 30 games, who cares?
Sure. Maybe he can pick up a second job.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, that's just mean. All right, I have 2 more I want to get to before we how many super chats do we have? Okay, cool. So we can use this time just for the questions. Cool. All right, Broad Street Brain Rot. At what point do people realize Brink is a better hockey player than Tippett, and that the Flyers screwed up badly by extending Tippett instead of trading him at last year's deadline when he was a cheap pending RFA on a scoring heater? That's my question. I'll hang up and listen.
So many assumptions.
I mean,
This question lays out a lot of things as established fact that I'm not sure are established fact.
I think Bobby Brink right now is a more complete player than Owen Tippett. That said, like, Owen Tippett has scored a ton more than Bobby Brink has this year.
They're two completely different kinds of players, number one. And Owen Tippett's ceiling is like way higher.
Yeah, I do believe Owen Tippett has a much higher ceiling. His tangible tools, size, speed, shot, they're all better than Bobby Brink's. Yeah. He has produced considerably more in his time. That said, Bobby Brink younger, and we talked about this a little, I think, like a couple weeks ago, and Charlie said it again last night. Like, Bobby Brink has rounded out his game so well that it affords us the opportunity to continue seeing what his offensive upside can be. And I think it could be good middle six guy, maybe never like a definite top six forward, but I think he could be a very effective player in several different, I think he could help you in a bunch of ways, but I do think Owen Tippett's ceiling is higher. As also, just because you extended Owen Tippett doesn't mean you can't extend Bobby Brink when the time comes.
Right, exactly. I guess you could maybe make the argument that you think that, like, the player box that Bobby Brink fits into, he'll be a better version of that player than Owen Tippett will be of the player box that he fits into, which is like way up here and Bobby Brink is over here. Like, maybe Bobby Brink will be a better third line winger than Owen Tippett will be a first line winger. But in that scenario, Owen Tippett is still the better player. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't, as like the resident person who is constantly annoyed with Owen Tippett, that contract is fine.
6.2 mil. He has a modified trade, no trade. Let's see. It's a years 3 to 6, 10-team no trade clause. So no trade clause. So nothing next year. 10-teamer for the following 4 or 5 years. It's not a bad contract.
No.
Like, they're not getting surplus value right now.
No.
And you're still kind of just now at this point, I'm hoping, all right, he has his big breakout year when it actually matters. He scores 38 goals 3 years from now when we're trying to make a push to win the division or something.
Could happen. That'll be nice.
But I do think there is something to be said. Like, Bobby Brink has shown really, really strong play over the last few months.
I do like that on pregame yesterday, you and Steve were like, well, he's the third guy on that line. And he just went out there and was like, oh, am I?
No,
I'm going to have myself
the way he has rounded out his game is very impressive. I still, like you said, I think Tippett's ceiling is higher just because the tools are there to be more than what he is.
Yes.
But, and listen, even this year, he has scored considerably more than Bobby Brink has.
Yeah.
But Brink has come on strong. And that game last night was very, very impressive against a team I just picked to go to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I don't.
With a couple of guys who are third and fourth liners at best.
The premise that you have to pick one or the other of those players doesn't make any sense for me because there's room for both of them on the team. In fact, having both of them is very good. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to have both of them.
And there's nothing stopping you from trading either if you have to.
Right. And also, you can still sign Bobby Brink. We're not out of money.
No. The Flyers.
No problem.
Brink can sign an extension, I think, on July 1st. Yeah, because he's signed another year at 1.5, but that's the last year, and he's a restricted free agent after. So he's under team control for a while.
Yeah.
There's no rush on what you have to do with Bobby Brink either. All right, last one of these, but before we get to it, just want to say we appreciate those of you watching on TV. Head over to allphly.com for more of the show. This one is from Greg Bogard. They are opening the first Wawa in Cincinnati. What's the best thing to get?
This is a Bill question. You're a Wawa aficionado.
I do love me some Wawa. The buffalo chicken mac and cheese. You get the mac and cheese with the chicken steak and the buffalo sauce. That's my favorite thing.
Sounds
as well as the pepperoni melt. The pepperoni melt is freaking delicious. Now, Wawa, it's not what it once was.
No, it has declined.
It has declined. But if you know what to get through trial and error, you can still get something excellent. Those are my two biggest recommendations right there. The lemon iced tea, still excellent. lemonade iced. That's not the lemon iced tea. Still love that as well. Good stuff.
The things I usually treat myself to at Wawa are a soft pretzel and a chocolate chip cookie. Their chocolate chip cookies are really good.
The bakery still good as well. The cookie, the brownie. Sometimes I get myself a little apple fritter or something like that.
Yeah.
But not everything is great, but enough is still really good there that I am the biggest Wawa fan in the world. All right, I think we got one super chat right there at the end from our pal K-Red. Great to hear from you. Favorite fast food fried chicken point? Let's go. Favorite fast food fried chicken joint? Let's go Flyers. Oh man, Popeyes for me.
Popeyes is it.
And now listen, it would be KFC because of the famous bowl. I think the original famous bowl is the greatest fast food item ever. But they changed the popcorn chicken. They don't have popcorn chicken anymore. And there's just another, it's like cut up chicken tenders or something in there.
No.
Still good, but is not the original famous bowl. I believe that Popeyes has surpassed it now, both with the spicy chicken sandwich, the blackened chicken tenders, awesome. Their sides, delicious. I'm going Popeyes here.
Oh, we got another one.
Oh, and one from Borfus.
I'm going to be so hungry walking home.
I know. I am freaking starving. Had to say thanks for me getting into Shorzy, you two, and asked Chick-fil-A or Chipotle for dinner. Hope we're all doing well besides our downer team. Let's go Flyers. I am team Chipotle all the way. Love Chipotle. Burrito bowl, hell yes.
Oh, Lord.
Guys, we're trying to get it. You're doing this on purpose now. It's Friday and I'm starving.
Normally I would say Chick-fil-A, but I heard a rumor that they changed their fries and now their fries suck. And I don't like that. Because French fries are integral, so maybe I would go Chipotle.
The only thing I ever get that Chick-fil-A, Ava loves their soup when she's not feeling well.
Their mac and cheese
She's a big fan of their
slaps.
soup. It is the mac and cheese
the mac
is
and
good.
cheese is
That
really
is a
good.
good call.
Okay.
All right, Gary B. I feel Brink has a borderline second winger potential. I think it's there. I definitely think that's.
I don't know if he can hit that every game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just like, what does he do great? That's always and I know that's unfair because like. Even with all of the tools that Owen Tippett has, he hasn't put them together, and he's like 26 at this point or whatever he is. But I just can't. It's hard to define what Bobby Brink is, other than a creative playmaker who has worked really hard to be like a good forechecker and wins battles along the boards.
We've been saying it all season. Cates, Forster, Brink is a picture-perfect third line on a good team. That's what they are.
Certainly,
and that's not like. I feel like sometimes people act like when you say they're a good third liner, like you're knocking them. But no, a good third line is very important. And they are excellent third liners.
Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin have been there for 20 years in Pittsburgh. They had their best run with the HBK line at 3.
Exactly.
Like, you know why? Because every great team has a great first and second line. That's why they're in like the Final Four.
Right.
That's why they're in the conference final, because they have a bunch of good players. Do you have a third line that can match up? No?
Not
well,
everybody does.
then you lose.
We do.
That's what happened. I think that is a great matchup third line. And Bobby Brink, integral. All right. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be back tomorrow with pre- and post-game. Make sure you tune in for that. Follow us right here on the YouTube page. Set that reminder bell so you get notifications and never miss a live show. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast as well. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. That's it. I am Bill Matz. That's Kelly Hinkle. Until tomorrow, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.